Okay, so I've finished drawing the caulking gun. In fact, and now we'll start drawing the hand. Let me just show you where we're at, though. I'm going to make the photo disappear. So I've drawn only the things on the caulking gun that you can see. You can see where the handprint is going to be. You don't want to draw that stuff. And just to remind you, let's see, we'll take the caulking gun away. You see that this is what it used to look like. Oh, it looks like I forgot to move this to the caulking gun layer. So this is what it looked like, and this is what it looks like now. For the most part, I did not put an outline on stuff, but I did notice that when I was working with the caulking gun, the white part and this little blue label part, it just looked better with an outline on it, especially the tip of this. I felt like it helped the tip to be a little more defined, and I think it'll help it have some contrast when I put it on images in the SketchUp. So I had to be careful depending on some of these shapes that I drew. I had to move them up or down on the current layer, so they're all on the caulking gun layer, and I have that layer locked, so I can't mess any of these things up. But if I needed to unlock it and move stuff around, then I could move this layer up or down or whatever, so that it would kind of hide if some of these shapes are more than what you can just see there, and it was easier to just hide them or lower them in the levels, like this. The little outline on the edge of this metal tab, that's actually bigger. Let's see if I can grab it. I'll push it to the top, maybe. Let me zoom in. Nope, I've got the wrong piece. So I actually want that piece. So I'm going to push that to the top. And you can see that it's bigger than the piece in front of it, but all I did was just push it backward a little bit. So you kind of have to do a little bit of that, but anyway, that's what I've got. Now let's go ahead and draw the hand. So I'm going to make the photo appear again. I'm going to lock the caulking gun layer, and I'm going to select layer 1 so that I'm just drawing on layer 1. And I'm going to pick my Bezier curve tool, and I'm going to draw the hand. Probably, so there's this little part of the knuckle there. We'll draw that later. And there's these fingers that are back here. We'll draw those later. But we're going to draw a shape that will represent my wrist and my thumb. So I'm just going to start down here and move along here and just place some nodes to kind of represent the shape of my hand. And then some of the stuff you could probably place the hand behind it, but there may be other parts where you're going to want the hand to be in front of it. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try, and it'll kind of lock to each of these cusps or these nodes that I've already drawn on these other shapes. Even though they're locked, it'll still kind of snap to some of them. And so I'm going to let it snap to some of them so that I get them roughly in the right spot. But I'm just moving along the shape, and I'm thinking about, whoops, sorry, that's way too much zooming or panning. Just thinking about, when I'm all done, what can I, and I have to stretch things around, how will the tool allow me to stretch these shapes to outline my hand. And again, we're just drawing a cartoon outline, so you don't need every single detail. I think I'll be able to make this whole bump with one arc. And I'm using my control and my shift so if I want to pan right to left, I'm going to hit shift or hold shift down, and then I'm using the scroll wheel on my mouse. So I'm able to kind of shift and move along that way. And I think we'll kind of go to there. And then for the bottom of my wrist, I'm just gonna kind of cut it off right here, and we'll probably turn that kind of into an arc at some point. But you know, it's just a cartoon hand, so we don't really need it to be extremely detailed or anything. And then once we get to this point, I'm going to change my stroke style to be a little smaller, and I think I'm still going to turn it to red. So hold down the shift and click on red. That way it'll still give me a good contrast up here. And I'm going to edit the path by nodes. And I'm going to turn all of my nodes into curves. So I got to zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to select, whoops, I don't want to select all of those. I just want to select all of the nodes in this particular drawing. And I'm going to turn all those into curves. And I've kind of gone back and forth on which of these tools I like best. This curve one works great because it doesn't really move anything, but it just puts handles on everything. And each of the handles are kind of like corners to where I can move this handle and it's not going to start moving the other side of it. So I'm kind of liking that one right now. But then I just go along and I just start moving that line to where I need it to be, and making sure that I have a good curve on a lot of this stuff so that these lines will look smoothish. You do have to be careful with this tool because it will leave kind of like a jagged little V where every one of these nodes are if I haven't really made it very smooth. Looks like this node needs to be moved down just a little bit. Might zoom in here, and I can see I've selected everything. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to hit Control Z, and I'm going to unselect stuff, and then I'll select just that node and move it down to right there. And down here, just stretching this curve around the bottom of this image. And at some point, all this stuff's going to overlap just a little bit. Kind of you either have to choose to lay whatever this is going to be on top of this, or you have to choose for it to be underneath of it. And this one may be better. It may be better if we actually push this underneath all of that stuff, because I really like the outline that I've already got, and I'm going to have some of these pointy jagged edges that I won't be able to, well, it will be difficult to clean them up. So I'll probably just start, I think I'm just going to kind of make sure that the edge of this line is kind of overlapping all of this other stuff, and then I'll drop this down in the layers down below. Gosh. Down below all this when I'm done, I think. The only problem is I when I get over in here, I may feel differently about whether I want the thumb layer to be above or below. So we'll see how it turns out. Right here, I can't even remember what was going on. I think there was like a bump here, but I'm gonna have to move a node to kind of see the picture. And okay, now I can kind of see that this, and I don't have handles on either of these, but I'm gonna make this segment a curve, and that should give me the handles that I need. And now I can follow the curve a little bit, and then we'll follow this curve as well. And same thing, sometimes depending on which node or which side of the node you grab, it will sometimes make your handles disappear or not show up. This one, you see how it's given me kind of a V here? I think I want to change this one to be a symmetric node. So I'm going to click on that. You can see how it smoothed out my V, but now I have to change the curve is symmetric, so I have to kind of alter it a little bit on both sides to make it fit the curve. Maybe even move it a little bit. That's a little better. And then make a curve here so that we can get that shape. And then we're going to come in later and actually draw in some of the creases in my knuckles, and we'll draw in that fingernail. So right now we're really just after an outline of this thumb. And I'm going to smooth this one just a little bit. It's not symmetrical, but it's smooth. Gives me a little more control over it. And I'm going to see if I can turn the photo off for a second. That won't help. I'm just having a hard time seeing what this shape is doing here, but I think it just kind of went around the corner there. But this right here between these two shapes, we don't want to have any white space, or your eyes will be drawn right to it. So I want to make sure that this line is touching that white space there. Maybe smooth that one out a little bit. And auto smooth that one as well. Maybe just make it symmetrical so I got handles on both sides. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, so now I have kind of an outline for my hand. And I think I'm going to make my arm a little longer. I think this might look a little strange as short as it is, so I'm going to move these nodes just down a little ways. And see if I haven't quite figured out the trick. Sometimes the handles just disappear. So I'm going to make it smooth, which is going to make it all wonky, and then I'll make it back into a corner. And that allows me to do this. And I actually like the shape that it gives me a little better too. Around that corner, it's almost a little rounded. Anyway, so we made my wrist a little bigger. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to pick a color with the ink dropper, just like we've been doing before, and we're going to fill in my whole wrist with that one color. And you may have to pick a color and then hit Control Z and pick a different color and hit Control Z until you get the color that you want. I actually like this color back here. About right there. Looks good. But we're going to do that. We're going to do that in a minute. The first, we want to leave this without color, and we want to make some lines to kind of represent what's going on my wrist. And these lines will end up bringing them to the top. But anyway, so I'm going to just draw in some lines, and I'm probably going to draw them in with just like a black or something. But I'm going to start up here, and I just want to represent my fingernails. So I'm going to kind of come around here and just add in some lines. Make the stroke thin, turn it into nodes, select those nodes, turn them into curves, and then just go through and work our magic here. Okay, so now you can see we just got this little outline there. Might put one right across here where my knuckle bends. So maybe right here to here. I'll turn that into a curve, and we'll give it just a little bit of curve. And I'm just going to copy that. So hit Control C, Control V, and I'm just going to move it up here. And I'm going to edit it, and basically I want to just make a smaller one. And we'll zoom out and see what that looks like. I'm going to have to mess with my handles so they don't make things look too weird, but yeah, we may use that, we may not. And then same thing down here. I probably want to just put in a line just to kind of show, you know, here's my wrist. Select them, make it into a curve, and make it a little thinner. And also maybe we'll pick up that tendon right there with a line. And maybe this little vein here as well we'll draw on there. And that is a pretty straight line there, but I do like to, even if the picture shows it as a straight line, I almost prefer to give it a little bit of a curve just so that it doesn't stand out and look strange on our little picture. So in fact I think I'm going to kind of give it a little S-curve there. You could do some crazy stuff with shading and things like that, but really not necessary here. I may also, I kind of want to pick up the line right there coming off of my hand, maybe just give it a little curve to there, and then I also think I want to just put in 2 little curves right here just to show the bend in my hand there. So, and really I'm just kind of looking at this and thinking, okay, what would make this look like a hand when you're all done? And just a little bit of practice, you know, we might get done with this and realize that some of these things just look weird and we'll go back and delete them, but for right now we'll throw them in there and we'll see what they look like. Might, oops, stretch that one out a little bit, stretch that up to there. Nope, I don't like that. I think I'll do that. And then I'm just going to hit Control C and Control V. I'm going to move another one of those down and just kind of pick up one of these others. And I'm going to move the nodes around just to make it a little smaller. And mellow out the curve there a little bit. Okay. So we've got a few little lines indicating what this is. Now we're going to go back and we're going to select our outline and we're going to pick up the ink dropper and let's pick a color, and I'm going to hit Control Z, and I also want the hand itself to have an outline, and I think I want it to be black as well, just like with all the lines. So I'm going to hit Shift and outline my hand. So, whoops, and then I gotta click off of that ink dropper or else it will make it disappear. So now if I disappear the photo, make the photo go away, and I'm just looking at this and I'm just trying to think, okay, does that kind of look like a hand? And I think it does. So I think I'm gonna leave everything that I drew on there just the way that I have it. If I wanted to, I could make the fingernail a little lighter, but I think I'm just going to leave it alone. So I'm going to bring the photo back, and let's get in here and finish our hand out real quick. So we got to draw. Oh, I need to move this. And for some reason that was never moved, so I'm just going to move all of this to the caulking gun layer, and now it's locked. I shouldn't be able to select it. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw this little part of my knuckle. Again, I'm on layer 1, and we'll just draw that in really quickly. And make them all curves. I don't think it's going to be all that important to pick up that little bump. I think that's the shape that I want. And then I want it to be the same color as this, so I'm going to pick up the eyedropper and I'm going to hover down here and click on that so that that should be the same color. And then we want to do the same thing back here to pick up these fingers. So come in here, draw with our Bezier tool, and let's see. So I'm gonna have to draw that one. So I'll have a line through there, and then I'll have to draw this one as a separate one. And then this piece back here, I may actually just draw it bigger. Like I might just go like this. And just to make sure that my, I've got something that's bigger than that shape. But and then I probably want it to be a little darker just because it is shady back there. I'm just gonna pick one of these colors back here. We'll go right here. It might be a little too dark. We'll go a little lighter, but it's obviously a different color than here. But let's try that. So now I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna move it to the caulking gun layer. I'm gonna unlock the caulking gun layer, and I'm gonna push this to the very bottom. So, and then I'm gonna lock the caulking gun layer back up so I can't mess it up. So I'm not sure about that. We may have to go in and change that to the same color as the wrist, but we'll try it. Let's finish this out. But you see how I pushed that down below below the rest of it so that I didn't have to get all this shape just perfect. So I'm back on layer 1, Bezier curve. Let's go ahead and draw this piece. And this too could be down below here, so I might start with my node over here, and we'll just bring it back to here and close it. Turn that into some curves. Just draw this. Like that. Now the one problem I'm going to have if I drop this line down below, since I don't have an outline on that, it could actually cut off some of my outline. So what I might try to do, I might try to just line my nodes up really good. We'll see how well we can do. I just don't want it to look like the lines double the thickness up here, because that could be distracting as well. So I'm trying to put that line right on top of the other line. That looks about right. It's not drawing my eye there. It doesn't look like it's double the thickness or anything. Just gotta adjust. Let's see, I want to auto smooth that a little bit so I don't get a point at the end of my finger. And then I'm gonna color it in the same color as my wrist. And we'll send that to the caulking gun layer, and let's draw in my last finger here. So layer 1, Bezier curve tool, and again I gotta kind of copy what I've got here. The stroke down, turn it into nodes, turn them all into curves. I think I want to smooth this one out a little bit. I think I want to smooth that one and this one as well. And I'm just going to color it in the same color as the other fingers. And move it to the caulking gun layer. Now, for sure, that part is just looking a little too weird. It's a little too dark. I might just, since we haven't really played with shading and stuff, that should be a pretty good representation if I just go in and change it to the same color as everything else. So I'm going to unlock the caulking gun. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to move it up because I want to see what's going on. I think I want to just tweak this corner down just a little bit, just so that even though the picture is not showing it, I'd like it to kind of come more in line with this finger, because that's really what it is. And maybe I'll move this one up just a little bit, but just to get that angle of the line coming down better. And then just use my dropper to change the color. And then I'm going to push it back down, so hit the select tool, push it back down to the bottom layer, and I'll lock the caulking gun layer up. Now we've got, we zoom out. Yep, that was the right thing to do, I think, since there really isn't shading going on. That looks much more like a hand holding a caulking gun. So that's it. We've drawn our image. Let's make the photo disappear and see what it looks like. So if we put that into an image of something, that should make it look like a caulking gun. And just again to remember where we started, and that's where we ended off. So looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm gonna make the photo go away, and what we got to do is we have to export this, and we need to export it as a .png. So I'm gonna select the whole thing. Oops, I guess I gotta unlock the caulking gun layer, and I'm going to select the whole thing. I'm going to group it. So now all of it's just in one big group. And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to hit Export As. So this is the export window. If you don't have it, you're going to have to find it up here in your tools or wherever it is, or hit Control-Shift-E, it looks like. But we're going to hit Export As. So this is the file name. And I'm going to export this to probably to my Field Guide Photos folder. And this is going to be a save it type as a .png, and the file name is going to be caulking or hand caulking. We'll go hand caulking. And now if I go back to that folder, nothing has happened yet. It's because I haven't actually hit this export button. So there's a few other settings in here. It will ask you if you want to export it as the size in pixels that it is. If you want to export or hide everything that's except for what you've selected, which is what I like to do, so nothing else would be in the image. So I'm going to go ahead and click on export, and now it has exported that. One last thing you want to do now that we've got to this point, because it doesn't automatically do it, is we're going to hit save. So now we've exported that as a .png, and if I open up a little folder and I navigate to our field guide photos, we should have a picture of a hand caulking in there, and we do. And if I select it, it looks like, sure enough, we have a .png. And what that is it's actually should be this image with nothing in the background. Even though this is showing up as white, there's nothing there, and we can overlay it onto something else. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to close this.